Yeah, g'day guys, Steve here from Dirt Bike ADV. Well, I've made the decision on which twin I'm going to look to purchase. The last video I got a lot of comments on, and that was absolutely brilliant. I really do appreciate anyone who commented. I got guys that had owned the Transalp, the 790s, the Touaregs, and the Tenerés. So that's what it basically come down to. Sort of brought the Touareg back into the fold a little bit, gave it a bit more consideration, and same with the 790. The Touareg was the clear winner when it comes to a touring/adventure bike. The Touareg was the clear winner. There's no ifs or buts about it, and certainly going and looking at one in person. I went down to Pete Stevens Motorcycles in Dandenong. They had a Transalp there, and they had a Touareg there, a Aprilia Touareg sitting there. So I was able to walk between, actually, and they had a Teneré just a bit further over. So I was able to walk between those three bikes and evaluate the bikes. And certainly the Touareg is the lightest, but it's one of the dearer ones. But when you see it in person, then you go, oh yeah, this is a really good, well-made bike. It was a much better featured bike than, say, the Transalp and the Teneré. You can see why it's that little bit dearer. All them castings and mouldings and billet stuff and everything, it really was a well-made bike. And of interest too, once I seen it in the flesh, I sort of thought to myself, it's not really that ugly, you know. So yeah, it grew on me a fair bit. So, but the Touareg's the clear winner, but that's not the bike I chose. So I'll go through why I chose the bike, but certainly we'll go through some of the issues I had with the bike. So we'll start with the 790 KTM. Obviously, there's a small consideration with cams on those at the moment. KTM haven't responded well. They haven't said categorically it's this problem and we've fixed it now. The 2018, 2020 models, 2024 models won't have the problem anymore. So that a little bit of a consideration. It basically comes down to, it's not enough to stop me buying the bike, but it basically comes down to the looks. It's they're still a bloody ugly looking bike, I tell you. Everything else is good about them, but they're still a bloody ugly looking bike. I can't stand them. As I say, I'd have to put the Rade tower on it to just make it look half decent. I don't know why they don't get rid of that praying mantis headlight. No one likes it. So yeah, it's one of those things. Maybe that's why they're in a bit of financial difficulty, because they've been a bit arrogant about the way they run their business. Even though there was a few people said don't discount it, it's a good bike, and I have no doubt about it, it is. The tanks down low makes it, you know, a very viable option for me. 790 cc's, again, very nice viable option for me. So, but it sort of got discounted on some questions over cams and questions over financial viability and the fact that it's butt ugly. So yeah. The next one to go was the Teneré. Now this is really interesting. That was my sentimental favourite. But everyone said, and there was one guy there that had the 790 or maybe the 890, you're not sure, 790 or 890. He'd had the Teneré, he'd had the Transalp, and he'd had the Touareg. And he said hands down, the Touareg's the winner here, you know. And but when it came to the Teneré, everyone agreed. Very tall, very top-heavy bike. I'm sure they've got a good engine, good gearbox because it's Japanese, and the way they throw the power down, the way they've got the chain running around the front sprocket and that sort of stuff, they throw the power down really well, and they'd be a really good off-road bike. But everyone said the same. There was a lot of people that had owned them and sold them virtually straight away because they were too tall and too heavy, too top-heavy. So I went, yeah, right, there you go, okay. And that was really good advice, because that's what would have happened to me, because I wouldn't have enjoyed that. I'm turn 60 next month, and you know I don't want a big tall bike that's hard to handle. So yeah, that would have been a real bugbear, and I probably would have had to sell it myself. So the Teneré got that was the next one to go, based on comments and people saying that it's too tall and too heavy. Otherwise, it was definitely a sentimental favourite. Ticked a lot of boxes. It's only 690 cc's, which is only 90 cc's bigger than the AJP, which is my adventure bike. But yeah, anyway, it was sort of one of those things where I thought, oh no, that'll still be okay, you know. Onto the Transalp. And so the Transalp ticked a lot of boxes from a point of view of a touring bike, okay? So it certainly wasn't the most off-road capable bike. But it sort of didn't have any big X's against its name. It still had the 21-18 combination, so when it comes to getting a bit off-road and there's a log across the track, you can jump over that, or there's a pothole in the tar and, you know, you drop into that, it doesn't kick you off and those sorts of things. It's got a reasonable tank, not a huge tank, but a reasonable tank. It's not too heavy and it's pretty competitively priced, plus it's a Honda, you know, so you go, yeah, that's a pretty good option. But, and then there's the Touareg, and clearly the Touareg has been really well thought out and really well designed from the start. And so you go, right, beautiful, 660 cc's, good tank, good suspension, flat seat, everything's done right. And when you look at it, it's a really quality build. As I say, when you stand there and look at all the components on it, you say, yeah, this is a quality build. So, and as I say, not once I've seen it in the flesh, I don't think it was that ugly as I thought it was. Probably the photos and the videos don't do it justice. So yeah, it was a clear winner, but it's not the bike I chose. I actually chose the Transalp based on a couple of things. The Touareg is only 660 cc's, so it's only 60 cc's bigger than the AJP, and I really was looking for something that had sort of at least 750, 800 cc's, just to give you that long-range touring ability on open roads. So it's not a pain in the ass when you've got to ride from here to Alice Springs to Meterbloke or something like that over a couple of days. So I really wanted more than 600 cc's, 660 cc's. The second thing was, ironically, I chose it because of its road bias, the Transalp. So all the reviews comment about how well it handles on the road, and I went, tick, and I said, yep, that's the bike for me. So yeah, it's ironic. But remember, I'm looking for a touring bike, not an adventure bike. And so if the AJPs and the 690s weren't on the market, I would hands down, no question at all, own a Touareg. That would be the next best thing to going from a 450, 500 lightweight adventure bike. That would be the point of contact that I'd go to for the for my adventure bike. So obviously we've got the CFMoto MT450. Again, it's up around 200 kilos, 450 cc's. I'm going power to weight ratio doesn't suit me, whereas the 660, it's slightly heavier, but you know, it's got 660 cc's. So if there was no such thing as an AJP and a 690, I would definitely have the Touareg hands down without a question. It's a bike that I'd like to ride one day, my needs might change as we go along. I might sort of think, I'm over the singles and go to a twin that I'm going to ride off-road a bit more. I would consider the Touareg. So, of course, there's no big X's against the Transalp, the Honda Transalp. It's a Honda, so you expect to be pretty reliable and good quality. Getting into the airbox is a screaming pain in the ass. They have this really weird sump configuration, so I'll have to put a really strong bash plate on it. But apart from that, you know, it's a 750, 270 degree twin, and I'm going tick, tick, tick. Pretty basic electronic package, tick, you know, and it's a Honda, tick. So yeah, that was the bike I chose. So, but, and it's a very big but, I this week have come across a CFMoto 800 MTX. I haven't seen this bike till this week, and I went, what the hell is that? I just seen an image floating around, and I thought, what the hell is that? So I zoomed in and found it written on the tank was an MTX. So I started Googling the CFMoto 800 MTX. They haven't released the bike yet, but there's a few guys did videos on it. Motor Bob and Peak Motorcycles in England did videos of it at the English motorcycle show and the ICAMA, the Italian motorcycle show. And so I found those two videos, but it hasn't been released yet. There's a guy called Chiang Quing or something like that was his name. Chiang Quing Rides or something like that, a Chinese guy, and he actually has got his hands on a CFMoto 800 MTX, and he's riding it around in some backcountry in northern China. Now, he does a translation, he doesn't do a bad video, but I'll put a link to these guys in the description down below. But that's, apart from the AI rubbish, that's the only information out there. I rang a local dealer, a CFMoto dealer, and said, what's the go? And he said, yeah, we actually had a sample bike sitting on the showroom floor late last year. I went, oh, bugger, I haven't even heard of him yet, you know. So that's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. It's the old 790 engine. Well, not old, it is the 790 engine from KTM. They've got lower tanks, a high front guard, a flat seat, 2118 combination, 22 litres of juice. It's about 220 without any fuel in it, so it's certainly in the heavy end of the market, considerably heavier than the Touareg and a fair bit heavier than the Transalp. But of course 790 cc's, and they're looking at selling them for around about the 15,000, so the same price as a brand new Transalp, 15,000, 16,000 I would assume. But they're not coming out till sort of March, April, so it's probably made me sit on my hands a little bit. Oh, the other thing is with the MTX is it's got a simpler electronic package than the 800 MT Explorer, and I can't remember their other version, the Ibex or something like that. So the other two I didn't consider at all, way too heavy and really pushing the weight, but this one's really, you know, ticking a fair few boxes as well too. So before I buy the Transalp, I need to go and stand beside one of these CF Motos. But you know, there's an indicator of how the Chinese are going with their motorbikes. It's yeah, really good to see. Between Royal Enfield and CF Moto, there's some real new players in the market. So it certainly looks like a very interesting bike, the CF Moto 800. So won't make a buying decision until I've had a look at that, because it might tick the boxes. With the low down tanks, even though it's in the heavier realm, the tanks are down low, so the centre of gravity will be probably even lower than the lighter Transalp. So well worth having a look at. So I'll probably do a video on that, because I sort of grab whatever information I can get and sort of like, so I don't necessarily gather it together, but I'll watch it all consecutively and go, right, okay, try and establish the specs, because the Chinese aren't real good at specifying their weights. So they call their 220 curb weight, but it's actually without fuel. So I think they get a bit confused, or there's a little bit of ignorance or something like that. So yeah, but anyway, it's well worth a look for me. So yeah, but anyway, guys, there you go. Apart from the CF Moto 800, I'll certainly be looking for a Transalp. You can buy them very cheap with very low kilometres second hand. And it's a road biased bike, as I say, and that's one of the main reasons I chose it. So ironically, because I've got the adventure bike there, I just wanted a tourer. But yeah, watch this space and I'll let you know how I go with the CF Moto. I might even do a video, as I said, on the CF Moto. It looks like a real interesting offering. It's not a game changer, that's for sure, but from a Chinese manufacturer, you go, well, yeah, there you go. You know, they've got the MT450, which is selling really well for them, and now an MT800. You go, you know, a similar sort of spec bike to the 450, and you go, gee, that's a couple of really good solid offerings there, so could be a good seller for them. So anyway, guys, that's enough waffle for me. It's going to be a hot day, so I'll head back inside. I'm going to do a bit of work on the old ute. If you're interested in the old ute, it's a 7.8 Falcon XC, and I've got a channel devoted to that called Factory Restos Australia, so have a look at that if you're interested. But otherwise, I'm going to duck back inside, and I'll probably put this video up for tonight, and then I'll get into some rust repair and welding on the old ute. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll hope to see you out in the trail soon.